Welcome to another episode of Alpha Intuition Podcast, where I'm here to help you become a CEO of your life. I am your host, Keisha L. Blair, aka Keisha the Electrician. And if this is your first time watching, please make sure that you like, subscribe, and share this with somebody that you almost like. Now, Alpha Intuition family, it is my honor to bring you a really special guest today. She is a powerhouse. She has a powerful message about healing, resilience, and building life after adversity. She owns and manages a virtual law office supporting families across Michigan and Florida, bringing deep expertise into family law and a passion for helping individuals turn some of life's hardest battles into fresh beginnings. She is committed to guiding people through the family law practice in a way that empowers them to rise above adversity, reclaim their strength, and step into a new chapter of life with confidence. She also is the author of the upcoming book, Rebuilding Your Life After Divorce, A Divorced Lawyer's Perspective. Alpha Intuition family, it is my absolute honor to welcome attorney Miss Shamika T. Askew to the show. Shamika, what is up, girl?
Hey, thank you so much for allowing me to be a guest on your amazing podcast. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. I'm gonna tell you what, you are my first attorney that I've had on the show. I don't know if that's
really.
Yes, girl, I appreciate it.
Nice. Yeah, no problem.
Got a whole attorney on here, y'all.
It's no big deal.
All right, we're gonna hop right into it. So let me just start off first of all. By telling you about season 3. So we're in season 3 of Alpha Intuition, and we talk about just some of the leadership lessons that I've learned in the field. And I always want to know more about different people in the different fields that they're in and how they got there. So why don't you start off by telling me just about just your background and your journey to how you got into practicing family law?
For sure. So I was born in Detroit, Michigan, and was raised there till about 10. And then my mom relocated me to Lansing, Michigan, which is the capital of Michigan. So born and raised in Michigan, love Michigan, but always knew I had a desire to expand my wings and see what else, life had to offer in other areas. So I went to college at the Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee. Yes, I'm an HBCU grad. Loved that experience. It was a phenomenal experience. It actually taught me to be the confident young Black woman that I am. And it also taught me networking and the power of networking and learning, different personality types and building connections to help get you further in life as far as career. So then I went on to law school in Michigan, in Lansing, Michigan. I went to Thomas M. Clay Law School. They've rebranded. It's now a different name, but essentially people know it by Thomas M. Clay Law School. Had a wonderful time there. A lot of people have a lot of bad things to say about law school, but to be honest, I would go 10 times over if it was free. The experience was amazing. The cases are interesting. You learn, the law. That's when I realized that I wanted to be in the courtroom. So litigation was my concentration, was my focus, and had a great time there, graduated. Now, I had some hurdles with passing the bar exam. I'm pretty sure we'll get into some of that, but I failed 7 times. That's my journey. So when you talk about adversity and perseverance, I know all about it. That is my middle name. Because when you want something, you don't allow anything to stop you. And I've always been that way. So now here I am as a practicing lawyer in the state of Michigan, as well as in Florida. Michigan, because that's where I'm from. But ultimately, most of my practice, my clients are in Florida. So I am building out the practice in Michigan. So that's a little bit about Shamika T. Askew.
All right. I love it. I love it. And you said TSU. So I'm familiar with that because every year they come down to Memphis, or at least they used to. They used to do the Southern Heritage Classic here in Memphis, and it would be them in Jackson State. And they would always do their thing here in Memphis. So yeah, I'm definitely familiar with that. So you sound like, okay, TSU. All right, girl. All right. Very good. Very good. So when you think about just you mentioned something. You said 7 times that you had to take the bar exam. So I took my
8. I failed
8. Ooh, talk about we fall down, but we get up. And just to think about all the families that would have been affected if you just said, "Okay, I'm not going to do this no more."
My God, seriously. So for me, I knew that people going through challenges like a divorce or a custody battle, it's not an easy journey. These cases can take years and years to get through. Most cases can be anywhere between 1.5 years to 3 years, depending on how contested it is. So ultimately, they need someone who's going to be with them every step of the way and won't give up on the process as well as them as an individual. So I feel like God had me to go through that to teach me perseverance, to teach me that there are people who are going to be in my shoes that feel like they just want to give up. They want to throw in the towel. And I don't allow them to. I,
Mm.
I keep ensuring that eventually there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel. And there always is. You just have to get there.
Wow. So when you think about just your practice in the healing that you have to go through, because sometimes family law, you deal with the parents, deal with children, there's a lot of different people who are involved in this. So how do you manage all that as far as helping them with healing and transformation?
If I can be completely transparent, when I grew up in a dysfunctional family. My parents were never married, so I saw a lot of the things that my clients experienced, the
Mm.
arguing, the fighting, the back and forth to court, etc. And so I became a lawyer because I really wanted to be that little girl. The little girl inside of me wanted to help these other little children. I
Mm.
wanted my parents to be adults and to get it together and to act like adults and raise me in a healthy co-parent environment. And unfortunately, because they were unhealthy, they were not able to do that. So now tell all of my clients, healing is important. Therapy is important. Self care is important. So I find myself doing a lot of obviously legal work as an attorney, but I do a good deal of work in helping them learn how to communicate, helping them to not take things so personally, taking a step back before you respond. Because so many times in family law, it's so contested and emotions are high. So people want to respond immediately. And usually when you do that, you don't say the right things. And it doesn't come across, as respectful. So I try to help them on the journey of, healing and wholeness because when I first started, I didn't think anyone was healthy and whole. I
Mhm.
thought every family was dysfunctional like mine. I did because that's all I knew. And then that's all I saw in family law. And when I began my own personal journey in healing and wholeness, I said, oh my gosh, there's an actual world out here of people who actually live healthy and whole marriages. I didn't know that that existed until now.
Wow. So what are some of the things that you had to do for yourself to begin that healing journey?
Whew, that is a loaded question, but for the sake of time, I would tell you that therapy was the number one thing that I did. I've literally been in and out of therapy for the last 6 years. I got a divorce in 2019. So my initial divorce caused me, or not my initial, my divorce called me to go to therapy. It literally, I told myself I have to get a therapist to help me go along on this journey because I can't do it alone. There was too much weighing on my heart that I didn't want to lose everything that I had worked so hard to build, which was, my law firm. So ultimately, therapy helped. Having a community who understand and support you is so
Mhm.
important. I found myself on YouTube a lot because unfortunately, you don't have a lot of people that understand the ins and outs of divorce. And so
Mhm.
I didn't talk to too many people being a divorce lawyer myself. So I would handle my cases. And then as soon as I got done with the case, I would hang up the phone or in court and was on YouTube watching videos and how people overcame divorce. So that's what really sparked me in wanting to be an encourager to people who are going through this process.
Hmm. Yeah, and I hear that often that sometimes the best person for us to serve is the past version of ourselves.
Absolutely.
So now you mentioned something about how you had to go through a divorce yourself. And I
Mhm.
know that you have a book that's coming up. So is that what kind of led you into writing your book?
It is. So my book is actually released. It was released December 7th on my birthday of
Okay.
2024.
December
So
7th.
yeah,
Okay, I missed that part.
no, no, you're good. So it is on Amazon. It can be purchased on Amazon. I had the book released last year on my birthday, December 7th. And yes, my own personal divorce and also being a family law attorney is what led me to writing the book. So it gives affirmations to individuals who are going through the process. And it's not just for divorcees, it's also for people going through custody battles, because I see a lot of similarities with people going through custody battles as it is with divorces, especially when there are children involved. They're pretty much synonymous. So I give a lot of practical tips in helping them on their journey when it comes to finances and picking the right attorney, when it comes to speaking over your case, when it comes to the judge, the opposing party, the opposing counsel. So it's a very uplifting and encouraging book to those who are going through that process.
And you said people can find that book on Amazon.
Yes, and they can literally just type in my name, Shamika T. Askew, it should pop up, or they can type in rebuilding your life after a divorce or breakup.
Rebuilding your life after divorce. And that's what it's called. I'm gonna have it scroll across the bottom here. Rebuilding your life after divorce, a divorce lawyer's perspective.
Yep,
Is
it's
that
rebuilding your life after divorce or breakup, a divorce lawyer's perspective.
it?
But that's fine. They should be able to find it with that.
Yes, yes, yes. And so just to think about, so when you have to where you're basically working with a family,
hmm
so what do you focus on the most? Like, what's like your number one focus when you're dealing with families? Let's just say if you have children that are involved and you have both parents, like what's your number one focus?
My number one priority is always the children. Always. When there's children involved in any custody battle, obviously, and then with a divorce with children, I tell every client, I appreciate you hiring me. I am going to do a phenomenal job. But my number one goal is making sure that your child or children are protected in this process and that they are not impacted by this process because they're already dealing with the loss of a two-parent household. And a lot of times parents don't think about the impacts that this process have significantly on the children. I mean, we go through things as adults, right? We go through depression, some people go through suicidal thoughts, etc. Our children are no different. And so this reminds me of a conversation that I recently had with a client, and I told her, I said, you really need to sit down with your child's father, and I would highly recommend that you guys have a dinner with the child involved. The child needs to see you guys still communicating effectively, loving the child, because at the end of the day, they both love the child. It's just they don't know how to effectively communicate and co-parent. And so I told my client, I said, if you guys don't get it together, I don't want you to be one of those clients that call me because your child ended up trying to cut himself or commit suicide. And that happens a lot. And so these children are hurting silently. They're not speaking up. Some of them don't even know how to articulate, hey, this is really impacting me. I don't know what to do with these emotions. So I also suggest therapy for them because it's definitely worth it. So it's really me as an adult speaking to my parents when I was young. I wish I had this.
That's so important. And I think about even when I went through my own uh, si- situation with my son's father,
Mm,
and we severed our marriage. My son was young, but it was very important for me to make sure that his father stayed in his life. And I think sometimes parents they forget about that and children are feeling sleep because they're so caught up in what we're going through with the other person. And that's very important.
it is.
Children the focus of that relationship. That's really
Sorry,
good.
I'm getting teary eyed because I'm
Oh,
very passionate. I'm extremely passionate about this. I just want us to get it together. I do know that we can build better communities and better nations if we had our families intact. And so I look forward to uplifting and encouraging individuals going through this because it's needed.
yeah, and I'm gonna say this. So my youngest is 18, and his father we were never married, but we were together for a while. So his father got married, and his wife was ex-wife now, but we are really good friends. She had a
Oh,
daughter who was around the same age as my son,
mhm,
and they actually just both started college. They went through school through everything. Well, they were had a program, and she and I showed up, and
mhm.
um, the organizer said, "Oh, I thought that was his mother," and I said, "She's his mother too." So it was like we built a relationship because he was like, "That's a rarity that you women both have that because there's no." I said, first of all, we let the relationship go a long time ago. And we both understood the assignment that is for the children. It's
Mhm.
not about what didn't work out, anything like that. So our focus was basically on the children, and she and I are like really good friends.
That's
And that is, I know that's a rarity in a lot of households,
it.
but yeah, so it's like, when I see her at events, she sees me at events, we embrace each other and we're really, really good friends.
I love that for your family. No, I'm serious. You don't see that often in family law. And, it takes mature adults to do that and healthy adults to do that. So kudos to both of you guys for putting the kids first.
Absolutely. And because it's like, it's not the child's fault. And why are you going to be upset with someone else because a relationship didn't work out? It didn't work out. Get over it, move on, deal with your own insecurities and your own feelings, and let's move, let's continue life. We can't live in the past.
Say it again. If you only knew what we deal with as divorce and custody lawyers, it's not like that, unfortunately.
So let me ask you this question about understanding family law. What's one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about family law?
I think the biggest misconception is that people think that being aggressive as a lawyer is the best route to go, is the best strategy. This is my ninth year as a practicing attorney in Florida and ninth year in business. And I would tell you that I'm actually getting more accomplished by being more soft spoken, obviously being well prepared in the case law and the statutes and having my arguments and outperforming the other side. But sometimes, even when you're aggressive, it can be misconstrued as being overly aggressive or being
Mhm.
unprofessional. And so you have to be careful because remember, these judges are people. And as much as people don't like to believe it, sometimes they make decisions not just on the law, they make decisions based on their feelings.
Mm.
You go in and you tick off one of these judges because you're too aggressive, then guess what? You think they're going to rule in your favor on some of the things that are really important to you? No,
Mm.
they're not. So I had to play it smart. And I talk about this all the time on my TikTok. And I tell people, be mindful of how you're going into court. There are biases. As much as we want to believe that there are not, they exist for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of people, it's like, I've actually sat in court before for whether it was child support or whatever the case may be. And I saw someone that has gone up there. You can clearly see that the judge is letting them know, I'm in control of this. You're not. You can act like however you want to act, but guess what? At the end of the day, my ruling will stand. And it's like to the attempt to forget, were they going with an attitude or, matter of fact, this, let me tell you this. So they was in child support court, and this one guy, he said he gave him an amount that he had to pay. So he pulled the money out of his pocket. He said, I have it right now. He raised it $1,000.
Mm,
God pulled the money out of his pocket. And he was like, I'm thinking to this guy, why don't you just shut up and just say, okay, but no, you're gonna out
right,
show the judge. And the judge was just like, at the end of the day, there was no amount that you're gonna be able to pull out of your pocket. Because if you don't have it right now, guess what? You're gonna get locked up. And he ended up putting this guy in jail because he didn't have them. Like, why are you still talking? So you know what I mean. But it's his courtroom. He has every right. He or she has every right. So that's what it's not saying it's right, but that's
mhm.
the law. So
And I
very
see it
sad.
often. I see it often. And
Mhm.
sometimes you'll go into the courtroom and the judges have the mentality of appeal me.
Mm.
You don't like what I'm doing? Appeal me. And they'll literally kind of have that shrug on their shoulder. And unfortunately, most people can't afford trial attorneys like myself. So they for certain can't afford appellate attorneys. So
Ooh.
sometimes just putting their attitude in check, it's hard for some people to do who have this power trip, so they like to go toe to toe as you described. And unfortunately, they end up losing.
The house always
Mhm.
wins.
Mhm.
It's like no, 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 definitely. And sometimes you have to learn how to humble yourself and let that pride go, or pride comes before the fall.
Exactly. Playing
Um,
it smart.
Yes, yes. So now when I think about, let me say I have your information scrolling across the bottom here. You mentioned something about just about, helping and doing different things like that. And I know you mentioned something about, you're getting into speaking about these things now and speaking
Mhm.
on different platforms. So what led you to where you felt like, okay, I need to start doing a little bit more than practicing with my firm, but now I want to start, speaking on this topic.
So I believe everybody has gifts, and I believe one of my natural gifts is to inspire and motivate people. That's just an innate gift that I've had since I was a little girl. And had growing up motivational speaker been, one of the leading careers that we hear growing up, I think that's probably something I would have selected. However, lawyers seemed to be a better fit at the time growing up because I like justice, I like fairness. So ultimately, like I said earlier, I find myself encouraging and motivating a lot of my clients throughout the process. It's not 100% legal work. I do a lot of praying for clients. I encourage them. I ensure that they know that they have me along this journey. I'm here for them. And so for me, it's more self fulfilling to have this side business and motivating and encouraging people. So just this year, I decided to launch a new business where I'm going to be doing speaking engagements, empowering individuals going through custody battles and divorces. I'm building a community platform. Right now, I'm doing TikTok videos encouraging and uplifting people. And then eventually, I will offer this to corporations where they have employees that are experiencing divorces and custody battles because those individuals are impacted. I know firsthand because I was impacted. My business, suffered when I was going through a divorce. My clients, their productivity decreases when they're going through this process. So having an attorney who has not only the personal knowledge of how this process works, but also personal experience of a divorce, I think I'm well qualified in helping these individuals make it on the other side. And so it's definitely fulfilling to do this.
I love it. And I know I talk about skilled trades. I'm going to say this. I truly think being a motivational speaker, that is a skill. Because
Hmm.
not everybody has it, not everybody can do it. Even the ones that think that they can are not good at it. And just think if that were a class in school on not
Hmm.
just public speaking, but motivational speaking, oh, we probably have
Exactly.
people out here,
It's
you
an
know?
art. It's an art. You have to be able to tap into people's emotions. You have to keep their attention because our attention spans are small. And then you have to know what you're talking about. You know, why would I listen to you if you haven't experienced this or you don't know anything about this field? Is how a lot of people think. So it's definitely an art. And I look forward to getting into this field for sure.
Yeah, so and I mean, and so I'm gonna just how we met, being in the UOU mastermind in the inner circle, and that's Dr. Eric Thomas's ET, the hip hop preachers community. I'm telling you, I still listen to him every single morning. Even after I get off of our calls at 5 a.m., I'll go into my morning routine and I'm still listening. I was listening to something this morning. It was called Beast Mode, and it was an hour long, just different compilations. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So just to know that everybody can't do that. Everybody is
exactly.
not capable of affecting someone,
Mhm.
all different races, personality types, whatever, and making them feel a certain way, to take them
Mhm.
from feeling down and to inspiring them to even want to get out of bed, to go to work, to be productive. That is truly a skill. So if you have that, yes, definitely lean into it 100%. Companies need that.
Absolutely. I agree. And it will save them money because who wants to fire and rehire? I'm an employer. I know what it's like going through that process of training. It costs a lot of money to
That's
retrain and
money.
hire people. So ultimately, it would be better to retain the well qualified staff that you have, but just help them in this challenging moment that they have. Because this too will pass. It's just helping them along the journey.
Because I know I used to, well, I teach a class basically that helps people to understand happy people come to work. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's not even what's going on at the job that's affecting them. It has to do with the hierarchy of needs. And just because they come in doesn't mean they're going to be motivated to go above and beyond.
Exactly.
So it's like you need to understand what is it that is affecting them that's causing them to not perform at a higher level.
I totally
So
agree.
yeah. And like you said, sometimes it may be because they're going through something
Mhm.
at home that's affecting their performance at work.
It does. It
Yes.
impacts every area of their life, their finances, their mental well being, their physical being, everything.
Oh, yes, I can definitely attest to that because there's been some days where I just didn't want to get out of the bed. I didn't want to eat, didn't want to do anything. All
Likewise.
something that was going on.
Hmm.
Nothing to do with work, but I didn't want to be there, not feeling
Yeah,
how I was feeling.
exactly. I
Um,
went through a state of depression. I know firsthand what it's like. I did not want to get up. And like you, I also listened to ET. So at the end of the day, I think that the reason why it speaks to us is because that's within us and it
mhm,
speaks to that inner man. We have that ability to empower people, and it's definitely a gift.
yes. And so now let me ask you about this. So I know I talk about leadership lessons from the field. So in the field of family law, what are some of the leadership lessons that you've learned?
So for me, I had to overcome this whole quote unquote imposter syndrome
Mm,
because there's not a lot of women in the field of law. There are becoming more licensed women practitioners, but it's really male dominated and, white male dominated.
mm,
So when it comes to showing up at the conferences, showing up at, you know, ends, we call them stand give. We have a stand givens ends, which pretty much is a organization where lawyers and judges come together. We talk about the field itself. We collaborate on cases sometimes. We talk about the new cases that come out. So ultimately, just making certain that I understand that I belong in the room because too many times we're well qualified, sometimes more qualified than our counterparts. But for whatever reason, we feel like we don't belong. So just recognizing that I also belong in these rooms and participating in these organizations that I talked about, it's really been more beneficial because now I've connected with judges, with lawyers. I had a judge recently reach out to me about, if eventually if he runs for reelection, what that would look like and being on his campaign. So it's definitely, it's taken me a lot of time to recognize that I belong in the room as well. So that's the biggest thing, that women, we bring a lot to the table, and it's important for us to show up and be our authentic selves.
Yes, and in my case, where I tell people, not only do we bring a lot to the table, I build the table. Okay, so I got tools that we need to build tables. So yes, 100%. Not only are we do we bring things to the table, we put things on the table. In some cases, we actually build the table, because that's what I tell people. Is sometimes you won't have a seat at the table. You have to build your own.
For sure.
So you can't really worry about what other people think, what other people say. And as you were speaking, I'm thinking like, man, what fields are not male dominated? You know what I mean? It's like every time I hear somebody say it's dominated by men, it's dominated by men, women, we need to step up. We got to make sure we get us some female dominated fields and we start running it. And we may just be there. Like you said, a lot of us just aren't even stepping up. We're supporting these men, giving them the that they need, but we take a back seat. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's where you feel like you thrive in a supporting role, that's totally fine. But like I said, don't be afraid to step out front, especially when you know that you're qualified and you're capable.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. So I know we have the book that just came out on your birthday in December. What do you have, any upcoming projects or anything?
So right now, I don't have any upcoming projects. I would actually like for people to follow us on TikTok. That would be amazing, because I am building a community there. So they can find us not only on our law firm page, which is Askew Law Office, but also on the private page for the speaking engagements, the conferences, etc. And that is Shamika.t.askew on TikTok.
Shamika.t.askew. That's on TikTok. So you can go ahead and tell them where to find you at on all the different platforms that you're on.
For sure. So for our law firm, we're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Askew Law Office. And as far as the speaking business, we also have a website for the law firm, which is www.askewlawoffice.com. For the speaking business, as I mentioned, we are on TikTok, Shamika.t.askew. And then as far as the website, it is www.shamikataskew.com.
Yes. So now you also mentioned you have a YouTube page, right?
I do, for the law firm.
Okay. And then so what are some of the topics that you speak on your YouTube page?
So it's a variety of topics. For the most part, they deal with family law issues that I see arise often. So some of the pitfalls I see with evidence and clients submitting information to their lawyers or people representing themselves, what they should do in the courtroom. So I give them tips of how to talk like a lawyer, even though they are not a lawyer. Because a lot of times people step into the courtroom and they have no idea the workflow, the logistics, like who's who and what do I do. And so I have it has about maybe 59,000 views, something around there on TikTok. It's a pinned video where I say how to talk like a lawyer, and I'm giving the steps of from beginning to end what they should anticipate. So I kind of role play so that way they can see how it goes, because you'd be surprised. Most people, not most, but there are a lot of people that are going into court alone. They can't afford an attorney. So they are pro se or pro per in these matters. So ultimately they need to know what to do. And I go up against, some of these individuals, and I'm thinking to myself, man, it would be a lot better if you did this, So I give tips to individuals, and I also just talk about the day-to-day things that I see in the courtroom, as well as just being an attorney.
And that's a lot of free game right there. I mean, just to learn how to talk like an attorney, people pay thousands of dollars for something like that. And you definitely don't want to go into court doing exactly what we were talking about earlier. You end up getting yourself either locked up or getting fined or held in contempt, all these different things. So to have that information on the front end, that's huge, because everybody needs to know the how to.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yes. No, I love that. All right. So Shamika, so we got the family practice, you're helping these children, you've got the book, you're doing speaking engagements. So what is next for you?
So I would say in 6 months, I would love to check back in with you, because by that time I would have liked to have a bigger community. We are starting a podcast. And when I say we, it's me right now, but I plan on having destiny helpers. It's me and God right now, which is enough. But I'm asking God to bring me destiny helpers along this journey because I definitely want to impact at a greater level, not just as a family law attorney, but just as an encourager and inspirer to those going through. So, what's next will definitely be a podcast, speaking engagements, and just being an impact to this nation.
Well, we definitely gonna have to have you back so we can make sure we list this podcast and see what's going on. But you guys, look, I'm gonna tell y'all what, if you're gonna have to go to court for something, whether it's for a ticket or whatever, you need to go over that YouTube page right now and learn how to talk like a lawyer so you can get yourself out of the tickets. Whatever the case may be. But all right, so Shamika, when you think about like just your legacy and all the things that you're doing, when you think about attorney Shamika T. Askew,
Mhm.
what do you want people to remember you for?
I want people to remember me as someone who is honest, someone who really cared about their journey and not about money. It was never about money for me. It was always about making an impact in people's lives. Now, do I have to pay bills? Of course, it's a job. But first and foremost, I always want to be known as an honest and upright individual. So when it comes to Shamika T. Askew, the attorney, I want them to know that I am someone who cares, I'm ethical, I'm integral, and at the end of the day, I want to see the best version of them,
Mm,
healed and whole.
I love it. That's beautiful. It really is. All right. So my last question that I ask everybody on this show. Name of the show is Alpha Intuition. When you hear that phrase, what does it mean to you?
When I thought about Alpha Tuition, I'm like, I wonder what made her name it that. And so when I heard it, I thought leading with your gut first.
Mm,
Because when it comes to intuition, we all have it. We all
mhm.
have that gut instinct that something told me. That something that told you is that intuition that's inside of all of us. And so alpha, that's the first, that's the beginning.
Right.
And so to me, I've heard leading with your gut first.
I love it. I love it. That is amazing. So thank you. I want to say thank you so very much. I appreciate you being on here, just for being honest and being transparent and for sharing your journey with us and just the different things that you have going on. I'm going to put this book up here one last time. You guys, make sure you go on Amazon and you purchase this book, Rebuilding Your Life After Divorce. I'm going to say it wrong. So why don't you tell them what the name of the book is?
It is Rebuilding Your Life After Divorce or Breakup, the Divorce Lawyer's Perspective, and it can be purchased on Amazon. And
Yes.
thank you again for the opportunity. This was amazing.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to put the information across the bottom of the screen one last time, just so you guys can see it. You see it all over the place. She is on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. You guys make sure that you go to her YouTube channel, learn how to speak that word. Make sure you go follow her on TikTok, and so you can understand some of the things that she's doing. You'll be the first ones to know about when she starts her YouTube podcast. But that is the end of the show. And I want to say thank you, Alpha Intuition family. Thank you guys for joining me, for rocking with me all the way to the end. Once again, if this is your first time watching, please make sure that you like and subscribe. If you found anything to be beneficial for this week, you guys make sure that you leave a comment down below so that you can hear exactly how her words have impacted you today. So you guys already know the journey to the top of any mountain begins with one single step. Don't stop, keep climbing, and I will see you guys in the next week.